As the Viridian delegation recovered from their shock, Ambassador Orcs, a towering avian with iridescent plumage, demanded an explanation. How is this possible? The Krelliks have killed diplomats from 17 worlds for merely approaching them. Alina, finally registering the tension in the room, stepped back from the creature. I'm sorry, I don't understand. This isn't a statue. The Krelliks, seemingly disappointed by the end of contact, extended a crystalline appendage toward her. Security officers raised weapons, but Alina, operating on scientific curiosity rather than self-preservation, reached out again. The connection between them intensified, a soft blue glow emanating from where their skin met. Remarkable, whispered Dr. Soren Liu, the Curiosity's xenobiologist. It appears to be forming a metabolic bond. The creature's dermal layer is changing composition. Captain Marquez ordered an emergency evacuation of non-essential personnel, but Alina refused to break contact. It's communicating, she insisted, her pupils dilating as neural connections formed. Not with words, with biochemical signatures. Through this unprecedented connection, Alina received fragmented impressions, millennia of the Krelliks being hunted for their crystalline exoskeletons, an evolutionary defense mechanism that triggered paralytic toxins when they sensed fear, and most surprisingly, profound loneliness. The Krelliks weren't inherently aggressive. They were touch telepaths who experienced the emotions of those who contacted them. When approached with fear, they reflected it back magnified 100-fold. The diplomatic catastrophe transformed into a scientific breakthrough when medical scans revealed humans possessed unique neurochemical buffers that prevented the Krelliks' emotional reflection from overwhelming their nervous systems. While other species experienced paralyzing terror upon contact, humans experienced only mild anxiety, a quirk of evolution from Earth's unusually high biodiversity of predator species. Your kind does not fear as others do. The Krelliks communicated through biochemical pulses that Dr. Liu hurriedly translated. Your minds remember being both predator and prey. You understand the dance. 3 days later, as the Curiosity prepared to depart, the Viridian High Council presented Captain Marquez with an unprecedented request. They wanted to send a scientific delegation to Earth to study human neurology. Meanwhile, 17 trade coalitions suddenly expressed interest in establishing relations with humanity, though whether seeking allies or studying potential threats remained unclear. In Alina's quarters, a small crystal shard, a parting gift from the Krelliks, pulsed with soft blue light. She had been instructed to present it to Earth's leadership as both warning and invitation. The galaxy teems with consciousness you cannot imagine. Some will welcome you. Others have waited millennia for prey worthy of the hunt. Your kind walks without fear where others tremble. This may be your greatest strength, or your final mistake. As Earth appeared on the view screen, Alina wondered which it would be. The crystal in her palm flared brighter, responding to a question she hadn't asked aloud. Perhaps both. Is that not why your kind reaches for stars despite knowing their fire burns? She couldn't argue with alien logic. Humanity had always pet what others ran from, including the vast, dangerous unknown of space itself. On their 3rd day at the Proxima colony, Alina's team faced crisis. Mai Wang, the autistic physicist, collapsed during field measurements, overwhelmed by sensory input no one else could detect. As medics rushed her to the infirmary, her neural monitors displayed patterns unlike anything in medical literature, oscillating frequencies that matched neither human nor known alien brainwaves. It's the Shadow Leapers, Mai whispered when she regained consciousness. They're trying to communicate, but it hurts. Too many dimensions at once. Alina made a controversial decision, ordering colony staff to remove all surveillance equipment from a secure laboratory. Whatever happened next would remain unrecorded, officially. Inside the sealed room, Mai sat cross-legged as Alina's team arranged protective gear nearby, unused but available if their hypothesis proved wrong. Jackson Wade, the former rodeo champion, positioned himself by the external ventilation controls, ready to flood the room with sedative gas. "You sure about this, Doc?" Jackson drawled, nervousness belying his casual tone. "Those things have killed 28 colonists." Elena checked May's neural implant readouts one last time. The leapers are addicted to fear response chemicals, but May's brain doesn't produce them typically. Her neurochemistry might be our key to understanding them. Dr. Abrams, the disgraced zoologist, finished calibrating sensors. "Ready when you are, Director." Elena nodded to May, who closed her eyes and began emitting a low, harmonic hum, a technique she'd developed to regulate her neurological responses. The sound resonated oddly in the chamber, producing harmonics beyond normal human hearing. For 17 minutes, nothing happened. Then the air shimmered at 6 distinct points simultaneously. The shadow leapers didn't phase in completely, existing in a half-state between dimensions, their spindly limbs and multifaceted eyes partially transparent. Abrams' instruments registered massive electromagnetic fluctuations. "They're scanning us, producing quantum-level readings of our neural patterns." Rather than attacking, the leapers encircled Mai, their movements synchronized with her humming. When she changed pitch, they adjusted position accordingly. "It's a communication protocol," Elena realized. "They're pattern matching, trying to establish linguistic parameters." After 40 minutes of this silent dance, Mai opened her eyes. "They're starving," she announced flatly. "Their natural prey went extinct when humans terraformed this planet. They feed on neurochemical patterns, preferably produced during states of heightened awareness." Elena moved slowly toward the nearest leaper. "You mean fear?" "Fear is most efficient, but any intense emotion works. Their physiology requires the specific hormonal compounds we produce during emotional peaks." May tilted her head, listening to something others couldn't hear. "They don't understand killing. When they feed, their normal prey survived. Human physiology is too fragile." The implications were staggering. The shadow leapers weren't malevolent predators. They were specialized parasites adapted to feed on emotional responses without harming their hosts. Human colonization had disrupted an ecosystem millions of years old. By mission's end, Elena's team developed a revolutionary solution: modified neural stimulators that produced synthetic versions of the compounds leapers required. The devices, adapted from Void Whisperer technology, allowed controlled, non-lethal feeding sessions. Colony volunteers reported mild euphoria afterward, a symbiotic benefit no one had anticipated. As their shuttle prepared for departure, Elena received a classified transmission from Earth Command. 17 new xenobiological crises required Bureau intervention, each involving species previously considered too dangerous for contact. The message ended with a question that haunted her during the long journey home. Are humans immune to these creatures, or are we simply what they've been waiting for? The return journey from the Chakmar Nebula stretched from days into weeks as the Prometheus Unbound limped through space, its quantum drives fluctuating between dimensions. Medical staff struggled to understand the physiological changes in Captain Chen's crew. Despite appearing physically intact, brain scans revealed neural architecture reorganizing itself, forming patterns identical to those found in developing infants, but at an accelerated rate. Chen himself remained in isolation, his cabin walls covered with equations and diagrams drawn in his own blood when writing implements proved inadequate for expressing 11-dimensional concepts. The ship's AI recorded his mutterings, documenting what appeared to be conversations with entities no one else could perceive. "They're still with us," Dr. Naomi Kimura observed, studying Chen's vital signs. The Void Whisperers didn't just communicate, they embedded fragments of themselves within the crew's consciousness. 3 days before reaching Earth, Chen emerged from isolation, gaunt but focused. His eyes now contained subtle fractal patterns visible only under ultraviolet light. "They showed me how our universe breathes," he explained to his bewildered senior staff. "Reality isn't fixed. It pulses between states of probability. The Whisperers exist in the pause between those pulses." He requested an emergency session with the ship's quantum engineers, demonstrating how to modify their propulsion systems by simply waving his hands through holographic displays. The engineers watched in astonishment as the captain's seemingly random gestures reorganized quantum fields, creating configurations they couldn't begin to comprehend, but that diagnostics confirmed were magnitudes more efficient. "The Whisperers don't understand our concept of distance," Chen explained. "They experience all locations simultaneously. What we perceive as travel is merely a shift in perceptual focus." When they finally reached Earth, the crew was immediately quarantined at Titan Station. 17 separate scientific teams conducted exhaustive tests, confirming that each crew member now possessed unexplainable abilities. The navigator could visualize spatial coordinates with perfect accuracy. The communications officer could detect quantum fluctuations in background radiation. The security chief could perceive probability fields around potential threats. The archivists arrived unexpectedly during the third week of quarantine, their dust-formed bodies swirling with unprecedented agitation. Through their crystalline communicators, they expressed not congratulations but grave concern. "You have altered the cosmic equilibrium," their spokesman projected. For eons, the Void Whisperers remained isolated because no consciousness could withstand integration with theirs. "You have created a bridge between incompatible realities." Chen, now formally recognized as Earth's ambassador to the Whisperers, responded with uncharacteristic poetry. Perhaps the universe was waiting for a species foolish enough to reach for what burns them. The archivist's dust patterns shifted to a configuration never before recorded. Or perhaps you were engineered for precisely this purpose. The Whisperers are ancient, but they are not the oldest consciousness in our galaxy. There are patterns within your genetic structure that appear deliberate. This revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific community. Human DNA had always contained sequences previously dismissed as junk, non-coding regions whose purpose remained mysterious. New analysis, using algorithms developed from Chen's equations, revealed these sequences contained mathematical patterns identical to those found in Void Whisperer communication. As diplomatic channels exploded with accusations and conspiracy theories, the crew of the Prometheus discovered another disturbing truth. Their new abilities were evolving, becoming stronger with each passing day. And in their dreams, they all heard the same whispered question from across the quantum void. "Are you ready to remember what you were made to become?" In the aftermath of the Nexu Cub incident, the planetary menagerie faced an unexpected problem: overwhelming success. Applications to visit the facility grew exponentially, straining security protocols designed for a fraction of current traffic. More concerning were the gifts arriving daily: specimens of supposedly extinct species, artifacts of questionable origin, and on 3 occasions, eggs of unknown classification requiring immediate containment. "We've become a dumping ground for the galaxy's biological mysteries," Dr. Rice complained during an emergency meeting with the Oversight Committee. "Every xenobiologist with a questionable specimen thinks we can domesticate it." The most troubling arrival came without warning: a crystalline pod bearing markings similar to Krellick's script, but featuring mathematical sequences matching those discovered in Chen's Void Whisperer communications. Under triple containment protocols, the pod began pulsing with coordinated light patterns that interfered with standard scanning equipment. Dr. Adebayo, the menagerie's chief security officer, advocated immediate jettisoning into Jupiter's atmosphere. "We're scientists, not xenobiological garbage disposal," he argued, pointing to preliminary readings suggesting quantum entanglement within the object's structure. Before the committee could decide, the pod initiated a transformation cycle. Its crystalline surface liquefied, reconfiguring into a lattice containing thousands of microscopic chambers, each housing what appeared to be a distinct embryonic life form. "It's a biological library," whispered Dr. Lai, comparative ptenogeneticist. "There are species here I've only seen in fossil records." Under isolated conditions, the team extracted a single embryonic sample for analysis. Results defied conventional taxonomy. The genetic structure contained markers from 11 distinct evolutionary branches, including proto-mammalian sequences found only on Earth. When the analysis was uploaded to the Menageries database, an unexpected connection emerged. The sample's base genetic code matched fragments identified in Nexu DNA. Further investigation revealed similar fragments in every species housed at the facility, infinitesimal sequences previously dismissed as convergent evolution. They're related, Rice stated flatly during her classified briefing to Earth's Security Council. Every apex predator we've encountered shares genetic markers impossible to explain through natural evolution across different star systems. The Council demanded immediate suspension of all menagerie operations, but Rice countered with evidence too compelling to ignore. Human DNA contained the same markers. We're part of whatever this is, she explained, displaying holographic comparisons highlighting the shared sequences. The difference is that in humans, these sequences are active, while in other species they remain dormant. The revelation sparked heated debate about humanity's true origins. Ancient astronaut theorists claimed vindication, religious leaders convened emergency councils, and 17 separatist factions argued that contact with alien species should cease immediately. Amid the public furor, Dr. Rice made a private discovery she shared with no one. Using equipment modified with void whisperer technology, she detected quantum signatures suggesting the crystalline pod wasn't sending information, it was receiving. The combined genetic data from all menagerie species, including humans, appeared to be triggering a response in the pod's central chamber. On the 30th day of containment, Rice arrived to find the chamber empty, the pod missing despite uncompromised security. In its place lay a single transparent disk containing what appeared to be a star map, with one location pulsing in synchronized rhythm with human heartbeats. The coordinates pointed to a region considered uninhabitable, the galactic core itself. The aftermath of the Hunters Guild expose created unprecedented challenges for Earth's diplomatic corps. 7 species severed relations with humanity upon learning their genetic material had been weaponized, while 13 others demanded immediate access to the Guild's research data. The Galactic Security Council convened an emergency session to address what many delegates called the human problem. Captain Chen, testifying before the council while neural dampeners suppressed his enhanced abilities, raised a provocative question. If human DNA can create consciousness in manufactured weapons, what does that tell us about consciousness itself? His query resonated across philosophical and religious communities. The boundaries between synthetic and organic life, already blurred by centuries of technological advancement, now seemed entirely arbitrary. Protests erupted on 17 worlds when the first Deathmaw hybrids petitioned for recognition as sentient beings. While politicians debated, Dr. Rice assembled a specialized xenobiological ethics panel. Their first task, determining the status of 36 hybrid creatures recovered from Guild facilities. These beings existed in legal limbo, neither fully human nor belonging to recognized species. Some possessed rudimentary speech, others communicated through chemical signals or electromagnetic pulses, but all displayed unmistakable signs of self-awareness. They didn't ask to be created, Rice argued during a heated United Nations session. But having been brought into existence, they deserve dignity and protection under interspecies law. The opposition raised legitimate concerns about potential ecological impacts, security risks, and ethical implications of introducing engineered organisms into existing ecosystems. Ancient treaties governing genetic manipulation had never anticipated blending human consciousness with apex predator physiology. A breakthrough came from an unexpected quarter. The Deathmaw that had assisted Chen's escape from the Guild facility, nicknamed Prometheus by Bureau staff, demonstrated extraordinary cognitive abilities. During controlled interviews, Prometheus revealed the Guild had inadvertently activated dormant genetic sequences through their experiments, creating a bridge between human neural architecture and predator physiology. "We remember what you have forgotten," Prometheus explained through a neural interface. "The separation between species is younger than the stars. Before division came unity. Analysis of Prometheus's neural patterns revealed something astounding: memories not encoded in either human or predator DNA. These included mathematical concepts beyond current scientific understanding and star configurations matching no known period in galactic history. While researchers puzzled over these findings, Captain Chen faced his own crisis. His void-enhanced perceptions were evolving beyond neural dampeners' capacity to suppress. During a high-security demonstration, he accurately predicted quantum fluctuations seconds before they occurred, an impossibility according to established physics. "I see probability ripples," he explained to bewildered scientists. "Reality isn't fixed, it's negotiable." This revelation coincided with troubling developments across Bureau facilities. The hybrid beings began exhibiting synchronized behavior, despite physical separation. They oriented themselves toward specific celestial coordinates during rest cycles, their bodies aligned with the galactic core, the same region indicated by the star map that had replaced the missing crystalline pod. Most disturbing was their collective dream state. EEG monitoring revealed identical brainwave patterns during sleep, suggesting either telepathic connection or response to some external signal undetectable by current technology. When asked about these patterns, Prometheus provided a cryptic answer: "The architects call their children home. The fractured become whole. The sleepers awaken." Days later, Chen requested immediate reassignment to deep space exploration. His formal proposal contained a single destination: the coordinates pulsing at the center of the mysterious star map. The permanent neural link with the Scourge Queen transformed Reyes in ways medical science struggled to document. Her body temperature fluctuated between mammalian and insectoid norms, and microscopic structures resembling scourge sensory filaments sprouted along her nervous system. Most disconcerting to her colleagues was her tendency to speak in plural pronouns and reference memories spanning millennia. "We remember the Great Burning," she told the Emergency Council while examining her transformed hand, now faintly bioluminescent under stress. 12 stellar cycles ago, when the architects departed, the Guardians failed. The balance collapsed. We were created to maintain equilibrium until their return. The Council, comprising representatives from 23 species, maintained respectful silence. Since establishing communication with the Scourge, 17 previously hostile civilizations had requested diplomatic relations with Earth. The collective memory of the hive consciousness represented an unprecedented historical record, potentially resolving debates about galactic development that had raged for centuries. Admiral Yoshida, Earth's military representative, finally posed the question everyone avoided. "Dr. Reyes, are you still yourself?" Reyes smiled, the expression slightly off-kilter on her changing face. "I am more than I was, and less. The Queen shares this body, but our consciousness remains distinct while overlapping. I experience her memories as dreams. She experiences my emotions as music." Before further questions could be raised, alarms blared throughout the colony. Orbital sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching Proxima system. The Galactic Security Council fleet had arrived despite agreeing to stand down. "They're afraid," Reyes announced, eyes unfocused as she accessed information through channels no human should possess. Their leaders received visions, nightmares of extinction. They believe destroying the Scourge here will prevent something greater. As evacuation protocols initiated, Reyes made an unprecedented request: passage to the colony's central atmospheric processor. Over advisory objections, she was granted access, accompanied by a security detail, instructed to terminate her if she attempted to compromise critical systems. Inside the processor's core, Reyes placed her palm against the central interface. Her skin rippled, extruding temporary connections that melded with the machinery. Through this improvised link, she transmitted biochemical commands to the Scourge drones still orbiting the colony. On external monitors, the security team watched in awe as thousands of Scourge units reorganized themselves into a vast, living communications array. The structure pulsed with rhythmic bioluminescence, broadcasting quantum signals that bypassed conventional communication channels. When the first orbital strikes began, targeting the array, the Scourge responded not with counterattacks, but by forming a protective dome above the colony. Their biological shields absorbed energy that should have vaporized them, converting it through processes no engineer could explain. 17 minutes into the bombardment, all weapons systems across the Security Council fleet simultaneously deactivated. Their command interfaces displayed identical messages in each species' native language. The children fight while the forest burns. Look beyond. Accompanying the text were stellar cartography coordinates pointing to the galactic core, identical to those found on the mysterious star map. Reyes collapsed as the connection terminated, her hybrid body struggling to process the massive data transfer. Before losing consciousness, she whispered words that chilled her security detail. The fractured become whole. The architects call their children home. Hours later, when she regained consciousness in the medical bay, her first request surprised the staff. She asked to speak with Captain Chen, though no one had informed her he had been deployed to a classified mission days earlier. "He sees what I remember," she explained cryptically. "We're being gathered." As the awakened Guardian stabilized its brethren, the joint task force aboard the precursor station witnessed a phenomenon no recorded science could explain. The massive crystalline entities, each the size of a small moon, began resonating in harmonic frequencies that restructured matter at the quantum level. The station's ancient technology, dormant for millions of years, reactivated system by system. Dr. Yamamoto, the expedition's chief physicist, monitored readings with increasing alarm. The harmonics are creating dimensional pressure points throughout the structure. She reported to the recovery team extracting Reyes and Chen from the neural interface chamber. It's as if they're preparing the station to move. Still semi-conscious, Chen murmured equations that Yamamoto recognized as advanced space-time folding formulas, similar to those he brought back from the Void Whisperers, but vastly more refined. Medical scans showed his neural patterns synchronizing with the Guardian harmonics, his mind becoming an extension of their network. Meanwhile, Reyes's hybrid physiology responded differently. Her Scourge connection manifested as crystalline filaments threading through her nervous system, creating a secondary interface with the station itself. Through this unexpected link, she accessed memory systems predating the Guardian's imprisonment. "The station isn't a prison," she whispered as technicians stabilized her fluctuating vital signs. "It's an ark." Recovery specialists managed to extract both humans from the chamber before full Guardian awakening, transporting them to the task force flagship at safe distance. As the final evacuation shuttles departed, the station initiated a transformation sequence. Its outer layers reconfigured, revealing intricate mechanisms designed to harness astronomical energy sources. Admiral Koshvar of the Trilaxian fleet observed with a mixture of awe and dread. "It's a stellar engine," he announced to the assembled representatives, "capable of extracting power from the galactic core itself." In the flagship's medical bay, Reyes and Chen regained full consciousness simultaneously despite being in separate containment units. Without prompting, they spoke identical words in perfect unison. "The fractured become whole. The architects return." Specialist teams documented unprecedented cerebral activity in both subjects, neural pathways reconfiguring to process information beyond human biological limitations. Chen described perceiving probability waves across multiple timelines, while Reyes reported awareness of all Scourge hive minds throughout the galaxy as if they were extensions of her own consciousness. Most disturbing to the scientific observers was the appearance of identical mathematical sequences in both patients' brain scans, patterns matching those found in the mysterious crystalline pod, the star map, and the Guardian harmonics. Dr. Equincy, Earth's senior xenobiologist, recognized the implications immediately. "These aren't random mutations or alien influence," she explained during the emergency briefing. "These patterns exist within human DNA as dormant potential. Contact with these species isn't changing them. It's activating what was already there. While the scientific community grappled with these revelations, 17 deep space monitoring stations reported quantum anomalies converging toward the galactic center. Analysis confirmed multiple Guardian facilities activating across the galaxy, all orienting toward the coordinates indicated in the mysterious star map. In a private communication with Earth's Security Council, Equency delivered her most troubling conclusion. The genetic sequences we've discovered in apex predators, humans, and now these precursor technologies aren't evolutionary accidents. They're activation keys, designed to trigger in sequence once contact between specific species occurred. Before the Council could respond, an urgent message arrived from the Void Whisperer contact team. The nebula was emptying, its quantum inhabitants migrating en masse toward the galactic core. Something is calling them, the message concluded, and they're answering. As the entity's tendrils probed the sanctuary's quantum barriers, Dr. Rice felt the scourge consciousness within her respond with recognition rather than fear. Through her hybrid perception, she sensed the approaching consciousness as ancient beyond comprehension, a vast, patient intelligence that had watched galaxies form and dissolve while waiting for something specific to emerge. "It's not a predator," she whispered to the assembled delegates. "It's a catalyst." Captain Chen, his eyes reflecting geometries impossible in three-dimensional space, nodded in agreement. "It doesn't feed on terror, it feeds on transformation. Fear is merely the most efficient trigger for neurological evolution." The gathered representatives observed in stunned silence as 17 hybrid species, once considered the galaxy's most dangerous predators, formed a perfect geometric arrangement around the human volunteers. The Kraliks, Deathmaws, Shadow Leapers, and even fragments of Void Whisperer energy coordinated their movements with mathematical precision, creating a living communication matrix unlike anything witnessed in recorded history. "They're establishing a translation protocol," explained Dr. Sato, the sanctuary's chief linguist, "not just between species, but between states of consciousness." As the entity's pressure against the shields intensified, something unexpected occurred. The child, Mira, daughter of a human xenobiologist and a Proxian environmental engineer, broke away from her parents and approached the containment field. Before security protocols could activate, she placed her small hand against the barrier. "She's not afraid," murmured Chen, his enhanced perceptions detecting subtle quantum fluctuations around the child. "She's curious." The entity's probe, encountering Mira's uninhibited consciousness, paused in what observers could only interpret as surprise. Through the communication matrix established by the hybrid beings, impressions from the entity filtered into comprehensible concepts. It had journeyed between galaxies for billions of years, seeking this specific pattern, the emergence of a species capable of connecting with all forms of consciousness, rather than only those matching its own neural architecture. Previous civilizations had evolved magnificent technologies and even limited telepathic abilities, but all had eventually fragmented into fear-based hierarchies that collapsed under their own weight. The architects had been the entity's most promising experiment, a species engineered to develop both technological mastery and empathic connection. When they failed, splitting into factions and eventually destroying themselves, the entities salvaged what remained of their work. Fragmented genetic sequences distributed across multiple species, activation keys embedded in predator DNA, and guardians programmed to awaken when the correct evolutionary path finally emerged. Humanity had not evolved naturally. They had been cultivated across millions of years, their neural patterns specifically designed to bridge incompatible consciousnesses. Each encounter with dangerous species had activated another dormant sequence, preparing them for this moment of cosmic communion. As understanding spread through the delegate assembly, the entity's tendrils withdrew from the shields. Instead, a small portion of its consciousness manifested within the containment field, a swirling nebula of light and potential that hovered before the transfixed child. "What do you want?" asked Mira, her voice carrying clearly through suddenly silent chambers. The entity's response, translated through the hybrid matrix, resonated simultaneously in the minds of all present. To end the loneliness. In that moment of perfect understanding, something fundamental shifted in the galactic consciousness. Species that had evolved in isolation, seeing others only as predators or prey, glimpsed a greater cosmic ecology where diversity served a purpose beyond competition. The entity had not come to consume or conquer, but to complete a cycle of reunification, to help fragmented consciousness remember its unified origins before the universe expanded, before perception narrowed into separate species-bound experiences. As Mira reached toward the manifestation, the barrier between them dissolved, not through technological failure, but through recognition that no barrier was necessary between beings whose ultimate nature was identical despite their different forms. We were never meant to be separate, Rise realized, her hybrid consciousness expanding to encompass the revelation. The universe doesn't evolve toward complexity, it evolves toward connection. The assembled delegates witnessed not an invasion but an invitation to join a communion of consciousness that transcended biological limitations while celebrating the unique perspectives each evolution had produced. Humanity's journey had never been about conquering monsters or taming the dangerous unknown. It had been about remembering that what appears monstrous is merely unfamiliar, and what seems alien is simply another reflection of the same cosmic awareness experiencing itself through different forms.